I want to go talk to Peterson. Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
Then why
were they here?
Well, how can I answer
Are there views in alignment with yours?
At some point you
I
have to
think
realize.
that's a foolish question. Look, if you want to know what my views are,
I've watched all of your videos, yes.
Including...
Yes, I have.
Yes.
then why would you ask such a question?
Because this is my interpretation of your videos.
Apparently,
That's
I wanted
All of the people who arranged the protest against you watched all of your videos.
It's like, do you want to
I have
disavow?
150 videos on YouTube.
No,
You
your
want to
lectures,
tell-
which sparked the debate.
Okay.
Do you want to disavow the support?
Could you let
of
me
white-
talk to her for a moment?
Don't call me that, please.
So, I have 150 lectures on YouTube. There's 500 hours of my views.
Do you really
If
think that
wanna
you're
find
worth
out
all
what
of
they
that
were-
time?
So look, I will answer your question, okay? I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way
That
it's
sounds
pushing,
very much like a
they're
threat.
going to come.
That sounds very much
That's
like a
not
threat.
a
That sounds very much like a threat. Would
Yeah,
you like
you
to
don't
disavow the
understand.
physical violence? Trans people were physically assaulted at this rally in your name. Would you like to disavow that violence?
Yes.
So you wish that didn't happen, and you want to,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to post this online that you would like people to not to be more accommodating of trans people and people of color at your events in future.
I would
I'm
like
a
there
person
to
of
be
color.
no
Listen,
violence.
I'm a person of color, and I felt very accommodated here. I felt like my voice. Thank you very much.
I'm also a Muslim, and I feel like this guy
I'm a
is
person
the
of
best.
color.
I
There are
love
many
his
Muslims.
videos.
You wanted to
All
disavow.
agreement.
You wanted to disavow, and this is the disavowal. I am not an advocate of violence. I'm speaking out the way I'm speaking out because I think this is a route to no violence. And violence is lurking. And you can say that sounds like a threat.
There was
It's not
no
a
violence at
threat.
our protest, though. There was violence at your protest. So what does that say about our
It's
views?
not my
Violence.
protest. You know,
I agree.
asking me continually freighted questions isn't very helpful if you
riot,
actually
and
want to
say
have a
it's all
dialogue.
false.
You have no idea if I'm your enemy. You have no idea about me.
You won't use
Nothing.
my pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I know you think that, but I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run. I think it'll do quite the contrary.
What?
Is that your medical
Like,
opinion?
what, is that your medical opinion? Like, you
I'm
are
not-
aware that non-binary people are valid in the American Psychological
This isn't about
Association?
non-binary
Is that your opinion?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's about non-binary pronouns.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
I'm saying that that's
Did
what
you
I'm
come to the
about.
rally? Were you there when I spoke?
I've been here for this whole thing.
Okay, well, I don't know that. It's a genuine question. Look, I think that's what's happening is that we're pushing over a line we shouldn't cross. The newest legislation is requiring people to use. a
But
certain
you are
kind
aware
of
that that's being
language.
put in place so that we can't get fired. We need to be written into the Canada human rights legislation, or we can be fired for our gender identity.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, then why'd you make a fucking video about it? I've been denied housing as a trans person. These rights would protect me.
Denied housing?
I've been denied housing.
From the state or for the open market? So have you been denied housing, like, from the government?
It's illegal
From
either
the
way
government?
if we had
From the
human
government?
rights.
From the government?
I'm not
Or
a-
have you tried to get a house like everybody else and they said, no, you're weird, you can't work? No, if the state has done that, that's a problem.
they said-
but if someone doesn't want to live with you, that's their right.
They said, no, you're
I'm really not
trans.
sure how you-
So no, if I had human rights, that wouldn't have fucking happened.
Yeah,
far as
you're
I'm
weird.
concerned,
I don't want to live
as-
with schizophrenic
As far as
people.
I'm
I don't want to live
concerned,
with people who are
that's a
bipolar.
terrible
I don't
thing.
wanna live with
It's too bad that that's happened.
So
to
you don't want us to, but you don't want us to have protections in the human rights bill that will allow me to have employment,
I don't
allow
want-
me to have housing security,
want-
allow me to have medical care. That's what this is about.
That's
It's
what
not
you
about
think it's
infringing
about.
on your rights or making you learn a new
I
fucking
don't
pronoun.
think that's what it's about. What evidence do you have that attempting to transform the way that people use pronouns is going to produce a positive effect on
Because
society?
are you aware that there is a trans boy who killed himself in psychiatric care recently because he was continuously being misgendered by his care workers?
And that is my precise problem.
And there have been multiple recorded instances of trans people killing themselves
Straight men
because
kill themselves
because
three
they are
times.
because they are not being integrated into society. We are not looking for special treatment. We are looking to be able to integrate ourselves into society. And if you refuse to refer to us by our pronouns, which is not allowed to ask, singular they pronouns go all the way back to Shakespeare. It's not a new thing. If you refuse to let us integrate ourselves into society, you create alienation that results in suicide. We are in a suicide epidemic right now. What are you contributing to this as a psychologist?
Man, you know, you're almost impossible to talk to. You're so full of rhetoric that it's impossible to listen to you.
The feeling
I would
is
be more than
mutual.
happy to listen to you.
Yeah,
I didn't say I
really.
was devoid of rhetoric. And yes, actually, I don't really think I am a rhetorician. Just so you know that. And you know, like, it's very hard to listen to you. I mean, it's very hard to attend to you
Because it's-
you rattle on in your
it's-
with your ideological speech.
It's not
And I
ideological.
can't even hear
It's personal. That's what you.
It's not personal. You haven't said a personal thing.
I'm
Everything
talking
you've
about
said
something
so
that
far.
affects my community. I have a calm, rational question.
Okay.
I won't get emotional with you. So, who is this legislation harming? Who is
Harming anybody who wants to use their own words.
So in what capacities? Be specific.
Look, it's important that people are able to use their own words
Okay.
because that's how we think. And if
So-
the government starts legislating how we think, and
So
how
if
we
I
speak,
wanted
we're
to
gonna
call
be-
you
Are
she,
you going to let me
if, no, I'm playing off of what you're saying. If I wanted to call you she and her and miss, because
I
that's my
don't
freedom of
care what you
speech,
call me.
and if everyone just called you that all the time, and that was the only thing.
Call me. Can't you tell?
I think that you don't care because you've never had to face that, and it's a common trend among people who have never had to face like transgender related discrimination that you think it's not a big deal because you don't have to deal
I
with
didn't say I
it.
didn't think it was a big deal. I said I didn't care if people called me that.
Helps us from public institutions, but it does prevent us from accessing healthcare. And it does prevent us from accessing other services.
I'm not arguing about your rights.
Yes, you are.
These things about our rights.
Legislation for
What I fail to understand is how you honestly feel, in your expert opinion, as both an educator, as an educated person, that not calling somebody by a pronoun that has been used to refer to
No, I think
individual
it's
people.
legislating it. It's legislating it as a necessity that I have an objection to.
Okay, so if there was this legislation was not on the table, if this legislation fails, let's say, if this is removed, you would be totally fine referring to me with they them pronouns.
Probably not they and them.
Probably not they and them. Why is
No.
that?
Well, because I don't think it's a tenable solution.
A
I don't think
solution
it's
to what?
I don't think it's a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. I mean, it's not.
You
Look,
don't think it's
it's
basic
not that
respect.
easy to track that. I know that's how you do it.
You were
I
no,
understand
you were
that
literally
that's how you
saying
You can make up a word and make that a child's name, and you would refer to them by that name. Why is it different for a pronoun?
You yourself
Well, it's different because it's different. Because
No,
it's
it's
a pronoun.
just as
You were
important.
just asked.
It's different because it's a pronoun for a lot of reasons.
So you
I
were
mean, one of
just-
the reasons it's different is that pronouns turn out to be very difficult to change. They're closed linguistic.
Which is why we're
categories.
using they them pronouns, which has historical continuity.
Yeah, you see, I don't
It is.
believe that.
It is in the English language. It's in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Years and years and years, it's nothing new.
As an educator, okay, hold.
Can I say
Sorry,
one
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
by the way? You were asked, would you refer to me using they them pronouns? You said, no, I wouldn't. When asked why, you said, because I don't think it's a solution. When I brought up then it was basic respect and so on, what you said was, oh, I wouldn't do it if I was like coerced or whatever you said. Somebody literally just asked, would you do this for me? And you said, no, I would not show you that respect. I would
That isn't what
not
I
extend
said.
that amount of dignity to you.
That's not what I
Yes,
said.
you said
Neither- none of
you said that you would.
No, when you were just asked, as a matter of respect, in fact, would you refer to a trans person who asked you to use they them pronouns, a pronoun which has a several
Not if I was
100-year
compelled to.
historical
But
Not if I
we're,
was-
that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is because it's
We just
legislation.
we're saying if it wasn't legislation.
I've got to stop, guys. Look,
Never mind
there's
the
too many of you.
Okay, one simple
I've had
question.
enough. Sorry, I
Dr.
can't do this
Peterson,
anymore.
one simple question.
No, I'm done.
I thought we were
If it was not for the
statistically
law-
irrelevant.
If it was
Well, yeah,
not
I
for
mean,
the
like,
law,
I don't
and a
exist.
trans person asked you, would you please refer to me by they and them pronouns? Would you refer to them by those pronouns?
Might depend on how they ask.
So no.
Why do you have
Literally
the authority
said,
to determine
please
whether or
refer
not
to me
they're
by
Why
those
do I
worthy or
have
not?
the
Why
authority
do you
to
have the
determine what I say?
Why do
What
you
kind of question
Why do
is
you have
that?
the authority? Let me finish. Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not an individual is worthy of you using their pronouns? Like, if I asked you, would you please use they them pronouns for me? What?
It would depend on what I
What
thought of your
hoops do
motivation.
you want us to jump through?
Those are
What
my
do you-
pronouns. Those are my
There's no
pronouns.
motivation.
No, I know. No one ever has any motivation.
We're
Those are
trying
my
to
pronouns and I want
survive.
to be-
Politics are a product of our lives and us trying to live in this world. We're not trying to
No,
live in
that's
this
a
world
partial-
as a product of our
you want me to
politics.
send you
I was
flowers?
apolitical before I came out as trans. I got into politics because I needed to survive, to advocate against people like you, no offense. I have one quick question. Okay, so they them pronouns are written into the Oxford English Dictionary, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. It's actually the word of the year this year, and it does have historical continuity all the way back to Shakespeare. It is objectively an English word, singular they pronouns, grammatically correct. Do you think that you can choose to not respect something that is in the English language as a professor, as an academic, that you are going to
do that?
that you are
Absolutely. I am choosing
but
to do that.
you're ignoring rules of the English language to go out of your way to disrespect students.
That's your opinion, and I'm not going
It is my
to
opinion.
disrespect students.
We're saying it's disrespectful
Anyway,
to
I'm
us.
sorry.
You don't get to decide what's disrespectful to us.